Alright, now we're gonna change an air filter on the 2014 Ford Escape. So first we're gonna locate where it is. Once you've located, it's this air box right here. Now we're gonna go over the 6 questions. So what is the function of this component? The air filter is to filter out the air before it enters the engine. So it filters out from debris or any particles that could harm the engine. So how are we going to access this component? So by removing the cover on the air box, we're going to be able to access the air filter, and it's right in front of us. There's no other component in the way. Any precautions to take before removing this airbox? Nope, the airbox is not under pressure, or there isn't any hot fluid that's going to come out and bite us. How is it attached? As we could see by, if we look at the extremities, it's bolted on. Now we're going to identify the fasteners. So they look like they're hex 8mm. All right. And lastly, how are we going to access the fasteners? Well, these two, they're pretty easy to access. This one here and this one here. But the one recessed all the way in there and here, we might need an extension. So we're gonna grab our extension for this. And the tools of our choice. So we could either go with a 1/4" ratchet, or like we showed before, an impact driver with a 1/4" adapter. So I'm gonna go with the impact driver 1/4" adapter because it is a lot faster, and I want you guys to get used to power tools, you know, not to be too afraid of them, because they are here to work for you. So let's go ahead and start removing it. So same thing, these bolts don't come out. That's the second bolt. Now let's put our extension to reach the other bolts. And finally, the last bolt all the way back here. Kind of hard to see it, but I do get a feel of it. Now the cover for the airbox should come out. Like so. Alright, so now we've exposed the air filter that we're going to be replacing. It is different from the 2 other air filters that we saw. On usually turbo cars, you're going to see a cylinder shaped air filter. Kind of does the same thing, same job, but just a different shape. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and remove it. So there's no more bolts holding this. This should be either just squeezed in there, or it should just be resting on the bottom of the airbox. So let's see. Yeah, so we're gonna need to push this way to free it. Okay, now we removed it. So now that the air filter is free, you're gonna see sometimes some debris. Here is actually some peanut shells. The main reason for that is obviously there's mice that like to hide in these air boxes. So we're just gonna clean it out first. You might see a bunch of leaves or a bunch of debris, kind of like a house, because they like to do they like to make houses to keep warm. So just clean off the debris. All right, now we're ready to put the new air box, the air filter, sorry. So this is the one that we've purchased, AC Delco online. And now we're gonna put it side by side with the old one to see, make sure they are of similar proportions and they look good. And always check the openings as well. They look about the same. So now that we're ready, so this opening here is gonna go around the opening on the airbox here. So we're gonna have to squeeze it in place. So here we go. Okay, that was easy. They kind of just clicked in place. So rotate it around to see that it's sitting all the way flush. And that's it. So now we can put back the cover for the airbox. Remember how it went. Make sure it sits. If you feel any resistance, make sure there's nothing in the way, like these wires or any debris. Now we're going to line up the bolts. Alright, now that it's lined up, we're going to start a few bolts to help us line it up perfectly. So let's start with this one. Okay, now the second one. Third one down here. And lastly, the fourth one. And that's it. You just want them snug. You don't need to over tighten these ones. They're metal bolts going into a plastic housing, so you will crack the housing if you go too tight. And that's it for the Ford Escape air filter replacement.